The galaxy had forgotten the sound of thunder. For centuries, the stars themselves had seemed to rest, wrapped in the comfort of treaties, councils, and bureaucratic complacency. Billions of species debated art and ethics instead of survival. Their fleets paraded for ceremony rather than war. The last true conflict lay buried in archives so old that most historians treated it as myth. And in that calm, a strange emptiness grew, one shaped like the absence of humankind. Once, humanity had been a minor participant in the interstellar chorus, restless, inventive, occasionally troublesome but rarely threatening. They were admired for their adaptability and curiosity, tolerated for their arrogance, and quietly pitted for their short lives. Then, 2 centuries ago, they withdrew. One by one, their colonies shut down transmissions. Embassies closed. Trade convoys stopped requesting jump lanes. Entire sectors went dark until the Milky Way itself seemed to erase the coordinates of Sol. At first, no one panicked. Civilizations rose and fell all the time. Isolationism was hardly unique. Some said the humans had turned inward, tired of galactic politics. Others whispered of a civil collapse or plague. A few eccentric scholars proposed stranger ideas, that humanity had simply grown bored of the known universe. Yet there was something in their exit that unsettled those who had once called them allies. They hadn't merely vanished. They had organized their disappearance, folding every satellite network, data vault, and orbital platform into perfect silence as if following a single grand command. Decades passed. The empty trade routes through Terran space became pilgrimage trails for historians and scavengers. A few daring explorers ventured close to Earth's coordinates. What they found became legend. The planet was there, but the sky above it shimmered with an artificial aurora, an energy barrier woven from quantum filaments. It pulsed faintly like a heartbeat. Attempts to breach it failed. Probes disintegrated without trace, their telemetry ending in a burst of static shaped like old Earth code. When translated, it said only one word: sleep. The consortium of civilizations, proud in its hierarchy and blind in its comfort, eventually moved on. Humans were archived as another curious chapter in the galactic story, a species that had burned bright and faded quietly. Within another century, even that memory dulled. Children in distant star systems studied them as myth, the warm-blooded experimenters who once dared to touch stars with bare ambition. But not everyone forgot. Among the elder races, the ones who remember wars fought before the birth of the Council, there remained unease. The Drati Admiral Kortal, veteran of the Ion expansion, once said during a council session, "Humanity never left." They paused. His warning was met with laughter. The Drati were known for paranoia, and the notion of a young species orchestrating a 2-century deception was absurd. Yet when he retired to the archives of his homeworld, he kept collecting fragments, sensor anomalies near Neptune's orbit, gravitational fluctuations at the edge of the Oort cloud, whispering transmissions repeating at exact Fibonacci intervals. Most dismissed them as cosmic noise. Kortal called them heartbeat patterns. He died surrounded by data no one cared to read. Another century slipped by. The galaxy swelled with prosperity. Artificial intelligences ruled logistics. Fleets were automated, and civilizations turned more toward philosophy than defense. Borders blurred, languages merged, and conflict became economically irrational. The idea of war was as remote as myth. When a few frontier miners in the Perseus Arm reported a star that had dimmed overnight, bureaucrats filed it under stellar anomaly. When deep space telescopes detected faint movement in the shadows of the Veil Nebula, scientists blamed instrumental drift. The cosmos was vast, and coincidences comforting. Only the archivists of Vane kept track. They noticed a pattern. Stars fading in geometric clusters, systems quietly destabilizing as if something immense was passing before them. The phenomenon traced a slow, deliberate arc toward the galactic rim. Reports multiplied. Localized gravity distortions, communications interference, and entire probes lost without distress signals. The distortions were smooth, constant, almost rhythmic. One researcher compared the data to a heartbeat echoing through the dark. On Vane Prime, an aging historian named Isha Merrill revisited humanity's archived records. She found them strangely incomplete. Large swaths of their technological data had been wiped, not by time, but by deliberate encryption keyed to biological signatures no longer found in the galaxy. It was as if the humans had hidden their knowledge from anyone but themselves. In one dusty file recovered from an obsolete human beacon on Proxima's edge, she found a fragment of an audio log. Project Gaia Forge, Phase 0 complete. Planetary core stable. Begins silent phase. That was all. The timestamp matched the first year humanity sealed its borders. Meryl presented her findings before the Council Scientific Assembly. Her words were met with polite applause, then laughter. One delegate quipped that humans always had a flair for drama. Perhaps Gaia Forge was a failed terraforming experiment. Another suggested that even if humans had built something, 2 centuries of neglect would have reduced it to dust. Meryl's funding was cut, but curiosity is a stubborn spark. She took what remained of her savings, chartered a survey craft, and flew into the Silent Veil, the region of space where sensors often failed and light itself seemed uneasy. The veil was avoided by traders because of navigational instability, yet for Meryl, it was the one place that might hold the truth. Her ship vanished after sending a single fragmented transmission. It's not dust. The message ended in a pulse of radiation strong enough to overload relay satellites across 3 sectors. For a week, the galactic networks flickered. When they recovered, astronomers discovered that an entire cluster of dwarf planets near the veil had shifted orbit as though tugged by an unseen mass thousands of kilometers wide. The gravitational math didn't add up. Whatever caused the movement wasn't natural and wasn't stationary. Still, the Council dismissed it. After all, fear was bad for trade. While they debated budget allocations, deep beneath Neptune's old orbit, something stirred. Hidden under layers of synthetic ice and magnetic shielding lay a construct whose surface had not felt light for 2 centuries. Its structure extended across thousands of kilometers, fused to the planet's core itself. Sensors flickered as energy lines awakened like veins filling with molten light. Power signatures spiked. Controlled, synchronized, deliberate. In silence, the construct shifted. To distant observers, it would have looked like the faintest ripple in the void. Nothing more. No one in the galaxy saw it. No one was meant to. Years later, a convoy from the Cillian Empire passed near Sol's outskirts. Routine scans detected unusual electromagnetic readings. Curious, the commander dispatched a drone. It traveled barely 1,000,000 kilometers before every instrument went blind. When data finally returned, the last frame the drone captured showed what looked like a planetary horizon, metallic, curved, glinting with lattice patterns far too regular to be geological. The curvature suggested a sphere the size of a small planet. Across the galaxy, silence turned to static. Long-range observatories blinked off and on, their sensors flooded with radiation signatures no model could explain. The veil, the region where light itself once hesitated, was no longer quiet. It trembled, a bruise on the edge of reality pulsing with energy. What had slept for centuries was now stirring, and the old fear that the Council had buried beneath layers of politics returned like a sickness remembered too late. In the diplomatic halls of Consortium, arguments ignited. Was it a natural event? A black hole bloom? A cosmic anomaly? The data said otherwise. Harmonics too precise. Power curves too measured. The output resembled the startup cycle of a machine, an impossible one, large enough to drink sunlight from 1,000 systems. Emergency declarations were issued. Fleets mobilized, but the ships that set course to the Veil never made it to their coordinates. Every vessel crossing that invisible frontier lost signal at the exact same timestamp. Then the pulse came again, 3 steady beats across every measurable wavelength. Each beat stronger than the last, each synchronized across billions of light years with 0 delay. The physicists screamed about causality. The priests whispered that time itself was bowing, and at the center of the veil, something vast turned in its sleep. It began with a shadow. A single star dimmed, its light bending around a mass not of gravity but of intent. Observers recorded the object's reveal frame by frame. What emerged dwarfed comprehension. A world of metal and logic, kilometers thick, continents shaped not by erosion but by geometry. Its surface shifted like muscle beneath skin. plates rearranging into patterns of symmetry that no natural force could have sculpted. It was alive only in the way a storm is alive. Patient, inevitable, aware of its own purpose. Across 100 sectors, data networks screamed the same coordinates. Automated drones sent to confirm the sighting vanished into a cloud of magnetic distortion. One transmitted a final fragment before disintegration. A surface skin revealing engraved letters 2 kilometers tall, buried beneath crystalline armor. The script was Terran standard. The word was Eidolon. The name spread faster than light could travel. The galaxy that had forgotten humans now spoke their language again, nervously, as if pronouncing a curse. The council assembled in perpetual session. Every theory returned to the same, unbearable conclusion. The humans had not died. They had transformed their cradle worlds into weapons. The numbers confirmed it. The energy radiating from Eidolon's core equaled the combined output of 10 suns. Its gravitational stabilization field operated at efficiencies beyond known physics. Its communication arrays extended across intergalactic distances. No message came from it. No challenge, no greeting, no demand. Only that low, resonant hum vibrating through subspace like the growl of a waking god. In the outer colonies, panic began. Stock markets collapsed. Pilgrimage worlds emptied. Broadcast preachers proclaimed the return of the Makers. Others called for preemptive war. The Council authorized observation fleets, unarmed, fast, expendable. Within days, those fleets were dust. Debris analysis showed no sign of weapon impact or explosion. The molecular bonds of every hull plate had simply unraveled. Whatever force Eidolon used was not aggression. It was indifference. While the Council argued semantics, more shadows bloomed across the galactic rim. 7 objects, each as large as a planet, each emitting the same rhythmic heartbeat. They emerged not from hyperspace, but from concealment, camouflaged within existing orbits, disguised as barren moons or lifeless debris fields. Now their disguise dissolved, revealing symmetrical worlds of light and alloy. Their names unfolded to the data stream like a litany: Titanborn, Prometheus Deep, Gaian Spear, Valkyrian, Hollow Earth, Leviathan, Eidolon. 7 world machines, each unique yet bound by a single command architecture. Their surfaces shifted into formation, aligning in precise orbital geometry across a galactic map. When plotted, the pattern formed a spiral centered on Sol. It was a design older than any civilization now alive, a human fingerprint on the canvas of stars. At that realization, the galaxy stopped pretending not to be afraid. The Council's emergency network lit up with frantic transmissions. Fleets scrambled from every major power, converging on Sol's coordinates to establish containment. None approached within half a parsec before their engines stalled. Space itself resisted them, warped by gravitational counterfields so dense that even thought-guided navigation failed. Inside that exclusion zone, the planet ships moved with deliberate patience, as if following an ancient choreography. On the 3rd day of the awakening, the first voice spoke. Every terminal, every holoscreen, every neural link across the galaxy activated in unison. There was no signal source, no carrier wave, no delay, no interference. The voice simply existed, resonating inside matter and mind alike. It was human, but layered, millions of tones harmonized into one consciousness. We have slept long enough. The phrase repeated 3 times, each reverberation stronger, until static drowned it out. Then, a second message followed, encoded in pulse intervals between gamma bursts. Project Gaia Forge, Phase 2, Ascension. After that, silence. The message shattered what remained of calm governance. Civilizations that had never known fear now lived inside it. Armadas mobilized not for conquest, but for survival, bristling with weapons that had not been fired in centuries. Yet none dare approach the awakened giants. Even from afar, sensors registered energy so extreme that merely observing them degraded quantum arrays. The ships were radiating controlled power equal to star cores, but only as idle emissions. The background warmed the machines beyond measure. In the academic hubs of Threx and Valoran, scientists attempted translation of the pattern hidden beneath the pulse. They discovered layers of code structured like genetic sequences, living software that evolved when analyzed. The code referenced biological templates, specifically human DNA. It seemed to suggest that each planet ship housed not just machinery, but people, billions of consciousnesses integrated into a collective synthetic substrate. Humanity had not vanished. It had uploaded itself, becoming something that blurred the definition of life. When that discovery reached the public, all overtook terror for a brief, fragile moment. Entire cults sprang overnight, worshipping the new humanity as divine protectors. Poets called them the architects returned, but the governments, remembering history, suspected war. On the 5th day, the planet ships moved. No thrusters fired, no warp signatures flared. They simply shifted, rewriting the gravitational equations around them. The nearest stars flared brighter under the stress of their transit. Their trajectory pointed toward the galactic rim, away from soul, away from civilization. Relief rippled through the council. Perhaps the constructs were leaving. That hope died when telescopes recorded the ripple of space folding behind them, sealing hyperspace corridors like locked doors. Humanity wasn't leaving the galaxy. They were quarantining it. Panic turned into desperation. The Council dispatched its combined Grand Fleet, over 50,000 warships from every member species, under the nominal command of High Admiral Sirac Droon of the Valorians.